This video is an overview of the market analysis that was done as part of the Envision New Kent County Strategic Plan. My name is Aaron Arnett, and I am with Arnett Muldrow and Associates, and my firm is leading this process, working for the county. And a big part of the plan was economic development and understanding what our market opportunities happen to be and how the community is growing. There will be a lot more detail that will be provided in the final report. This is an overview of the market research. The overall process for the Envision New Kent strategic plan includes 5 phases. The market analysis fell within phase 3 and specifically tasks 9 through 11 of the process. We did the market analysis in March and April leading up to the current phase, which is visioning phase 4. The elements of the market analysis that I'm going to share with you on the next series of slides includes trade area definition. These are the geographies we used for the comparative analysis. That was followed by the demographic profile, which I'm going to be sharing with you some key indicators of those geographies. Then we did a market segmentation study, which is essentially expanded demographics, and it provides us a little bit more detail on consumer and active characteristics of the households that make up the market. And then finally, market research, trends and demand for the residential market, employment, and the commercial market. The study area for the market analysis included New Kent County, but also various other geographies that exist within the region. So we looked at the county boundaries. We looked at a 30-minute drive time trade area that you see there in green on the map to the right. This was the area from Richmond to the west to Williamsburg to the east, and basically that's that population that businesses within New Kent County should be relevant to. We also looked at the communities within New Kent County and compared them. So New Kent, Quentin, Providence Forge, Lenexa, etc. We looked at adjacent counties like Charles City County, James City County, and others. We looked at peer communities within the region, and then we compared all of that to the metro areas that surround New Kent County. And of course, that includes Richmond, which New Kent County exists within, as well as the Virginia Beach, Hampton Roads metro area. It's important for us to understand that New Kent County market exist within a larger market, and we have to understand it within context with the larger region. The first thing we looked at with demographics was population change, and you can see here on the chart that New Kent County grew by 26% between 2010 and 2020, and that was nearly 3 times that of the Richmond metropolitan area. Projected over the next 5 years, New Kent County is expected to grow by another 7.2%, which again is almost 2 times that of the Richmond metro area. Within the county itself, the higher growth tends to be on the western part of the county. The New Kent zip code saw 36% growth over the past 10 years. The Quentin zip code saw 25% growth during that time. And the eastern part of the county didn't grow quite as fast during that same time period. For example, Barnesville grew at 12%, which was the slowest within the county, but again, it's still faster than the region. One thing we need to keep in mind here is that while New Kent County has experienced this tremendous growth, we are still a rural county. Our 2020 population is estimated to be just over 23,000. In 2025, is expected to be just under 25,000. So we are still rural, but this tremendous growth has even more of an impact to us as a rural county. Next, we looked at age and educational attainment, and you can see that with age, New Kent County is slightly older than the Richmond metro area. New Kent's median age in 2020 was 44.4. When we look at age distribution in 2020, we see that the largest segment of New Kent's population are baby boomers, and these are folks aged 55 to 74, and that's about 29% of our population. With the different zips within New Kent County, Barnesville is the youngest at age 42, and Providence Forge is the oldest with a median age of 47. Eltham actually was 41, which would be the youngest, but a vast majority of that zip code is actually in King William County. It's actually part of the West Point zip code. With educational attainment, you can see that 27% of the population aged 25 and up in New Kent County has a bachelor's degree or higher. When we compare that to the metro, we can see the metro is a little bit more educated than the county, but that is typical of what we see when we compare rural to urban areas. Finally, we looked at income within New Kent County and the region, and we can see that with New Kent County having a median household income in 2020 of 89,000, it's actually higher than the 30-minute drive time trade area as well as the Richmond metro. In fact, the median household income in New Kent County is higher than the state of Virginia. We don't normally see that in rural areas within Virginia, but it makes sense if we understand the type of development, the type of residential growth that we've had in New Kent County over the last 10 years or so. When we look at income distribution, we can see that about 34% of our households have median household incomes between $50,000 and $100,000 per year. Within the county itself, if we look at the different areas, Quentin has the highest median household income at just over 91,000. New Kent, the New Kent zip is next with $89,000 per year. And then Eltham at $78,000 per year had one of the lower levels within the county, but it's still high again when we compare it to the larger region, and that's important to note. The overall takeaways from the demographic profile is New Kent County is fast growing. We all know that. That's been a part of this ongoing conversation, but it's far outpacing the metro and the entire region. New Kent has higher incomes within the region. Really, only James City County and Hanover County have higher incomes, and they're only slightly higher than New Kent County. And then finally, New Kent County is generally older than the metro. Still, it's a little bit younger than some of the adjacent counties of Charles City County, James City County, and King and Queen County. The demographics are going to be described in more detail in the final report, but the market segmentation study really adds a different layer to understanding what that makeup is within New Kent County. Next, we look at market segmentation, and market segmentation is based on life stage, the age and presence of children, and social groups, urbanization, and socioeconomics. And basically, what it does is it divides a market geography into different segments. Each segment or each cluster of household has unique characteristics such as consumer behaviors, retail needs, activities, and lifestyle characteristics. These are very important for local businesses to understand in more detail what the market needs. In this study, we compared New Kent County to the 30-minute drive time trade area and the Richmond metropolitan area. The charts that you see here is life stage, and again, that's based on age and the presence of children. And what you see is that New Kent County is generally older than the trade area and the Richmond area. In fact, younger life makes up only 4% of the households within New Kent County, and this would be younger adults, professionals, young singles, those household clusters. You can see that the 30-minute drive time is much more well-rounded, which makes sense because it covers some of the suburban growth areas of the larger metro area. The detail of the segmentation study comes out when we look at the overall segmentation. The study classifies 68 unique segments within a market, and each one of those segments has a unique name that generally describes the overall cluster. New Kent County is classified as 100% rural, so it doesn't have nearly as many segments as other geographies would have, and in this case only shows 11 of the 68 total segments. The two largest segments are fast track families, which represents 41% of the households within the market, and Mayberryville, which represents 30%. So these two together represent nearly 3/4 of the households that exist within New Kent County. I'm going to describe these later, but it's important to understand that businesses need to be relevant to these clusters because they are the ones that make up that immediate market. The 30-minute drive time trade area includes all of New Kent County, but also reaches out into a good portion of the metropolitan area of Richmond. And because of that, it has 51 of the 68 total segments represented in its area. The largest segments you can see are represented here. It's important to understand the 30-minute drive time trade area market because it represents the expanded trade area and potential customers for local businesses to market to and expand their customer base. The largest two segments in New Kent County are these two. First, fast track families. That is 41% of the households within New Kent County. And these are higher income families. They're middle age plus. They have a mixture of kids at home or no kids at home. They are professionals and they have a college education. Their general commercial traits: they drive an SUV, they shop at Cabela's because they enjoy hunting and they like to ski, and they eat at quick service restaurants. Mayberryville represents 30% of the market, and they are also higher income. They're a little bit older than fast track families. They generally have no kids at home. They're either empty nesters or are retirees, and their traits are they like to eat at Cracker Barrel, they enjoy public radio and watch public TV, they like to boat, and politically they are conservative. Understanding these market segments can help us grow commercial and active uses to meet their needs based on the market demand of the commercial study I'm gonna show you later in the presentation. Ultimately, this will help us recruit businesses based on that demand, but also help existing businesses understand how they can better meet the needs of the market. Additional key segments exist within the region. These segments may be potential customers for local businesses, or they are potential targeted or future residents that may live in our new neighborhoods that we have growing within New Kent County. The entire segmentation report will be detailed in the final document, but you can also go to www.mybestsegments.com to see the individual descriptions of the segments that I've shown in the previous slides. Next, we looked at the residential and housing market within New Kent County, and some of the key indicators are shown on this slide. 89% of the housing stock, housing units within the county are occupied by homeowners. Only 11% are renters within the county. 92% of the housing units are single family detached. This is something that's typical of rural communities, but it's not often quite that high. And it basically shows that there's very few multifamily units within the county, and this could include townhomes, it could include apartments, it could include duplexes, etc. About half of the houses have been built within the last 20 years or so, so that growth has been more recent. And then finally, just 2% of the houses are seasonal or vacation type homes. We also looked at housing values within New Kent County, and you can see that the median value of owner-occupied housing in the county is over $300,000. That is higher than both the 30-minute drive time trade area as well as the Richmond metropolitan area. And we look at the distribution of housing values, we can see that almost 1/3 is between $200,000 and $300,000 in value. This mirrors some of the income numbers that we showed previously, and it also shows that a lot of that residential growth over the past 20 years has likely been higher incomes. That trend is illustrated here on this chart, and this is Zillow data, and it represents homes that are either on the market or home sales. And New Kent County is shown here in the red line. And you can see that since a low of 224,000 in 2012, the home values have been steadily increasing since, and it continues to be higher than the metro. Zillow does predict a decrease of 0.7% in the next year or so. We also looked at housing affordability within New Kent County, and the previous slides show us that much of the new housing stock has been built within the past 20 years. This includes higher home values than the larger regions. So that begs the question, is New Kent County still an affordable place to live? If you pay more than 30% of your gross income on housing costs, so mortgage plus utilities plus housing costs, you are considered to be cost burden. This doesn't necessarily just mean low income homeowners or renters. It could also be people living beyond their means. The two charts that you see on this slide show that with homeowners, 22% of those homeowners within the county are considered to be cost burden. With the renters, 35% are considered to be cost burden. Now, we have to note that only 11% of those within the county are renters, but when we look at these two figures together, there is a percentage of the population that is cost burden. This is important when we consider that we have an aging population, that we do have varying income demographic figures in different parts of the county, and even things like healthcare and transportation has been part of the larger strategic plan conversations that we've been having. Next, we looked at employment within the county, and the latest set of data from the U.S. Census for employment by sector is 2017. And you can see that in that time, the top sectors included construction, 19% of the jobs within the county, educational services, 14%, retail trade, 13%, healthcare and social assistance, 10%. Those four sectors represent over 50% of the jobs within the county. With commuting patterns, we see that 88% of the workers who live in New Kent County commute to the outside. That's not uncommon at all in a rural area, but in particular, a rural area that's sandwiched between two metropolitan areas where you all are easy commuting distance to those areas. Most people, or at least the largest percentage of people, are commuting to Richmond, the city of Richmond, followed by Mechanicsville, and then followed by Williamsburg. We also looked at unemployment, which is not shown here on this slide. But at the time we did the market research, the unemployment rate was 2.3%. That was March of 2020. The latest figure right now, post the beginning of the pandemic, show that the unemployment rate in the county is 8.9% in April. It might potentially be higher in May. Those numbers aren't out yet, but we will update those when they are made available. The final thing we looked at in the market analysis is commercial opportunity and retail opportunity. And the main study that we do in this process is what's called retail leakage. And it's a simple supply and demand study where it compares what stores sell within a particular geography to what consumers who live in that geography spend on an annual basis. So if consumers within an area are spending more than what stores are selling, that means dollars are leaking. They're going outside of that area because that particular good or service isn't located there. That translates directly to demand and opportunity for us to grow our commercial offerings in the area. That is what's happening within the New Kent County market. If we look at New Kent itself, we see that in the previous year, stores sold $239 million, while consumers, so residents of New Kent County, in the same year spent $531 million. That means New Kent County as a market is leaking close to $300 million in sales. There's demand for that within the county. Now, of course, you all live within an area that's surrounded by two metropolitan areas. So when we look at the larger area, we also see that even in those areas, there's significant demand and opportunity. We have to compare these to each other to determine on an individual category basis what those true opportunities happen to be. In New Kent County, you can see some of the key opportunities that are showing up. The largest by far is general merchandising. So this would be things like Walmart or Target or those types of categories. In the previous year, New Kent County leaked $58 million in that particular category. Um, Next is building materials and supplies, and this would include things like home centers that you see further down on that list. Again, the county is leaking a tremendous amount in those two categories. Now, does that mean that New Kent County needs or wants a Walmart or a Home Depot type of establishment? Those businesses may be located in short drive time for our area, may not necessarily be a real opportunity, or maybe we don't necessarily want that type of business in our area. But this is based off of real demand, and you can see some other categories there that have been coming up in our discussions as things that are needed within New Kent County. Grocery stores, you see that there's leakage of about $19 million. That's demand for about $19 million. I've heard of a new grocery store that is going to be built within New Kent County, and that's based off of the demand that's shown here. You see restaurants, both full service, which would be sit down type restaurants. There's demand for about $19 million in that category. And then also limited service restaurants. So these would be quick service or even fast food type restaurants. There's demand for that as well. And then going down the list, you can see there's demand. Some of it's significant for other types of businesses, whether it be uh, pharmacy and drugs, whether it be clothing stores, whether it be furniture and home furnishing, sporting goods, a number of different specialty categories that are shown here that show demand. All of these opportunities are needs within the county and can be part of a strategic recruitment effort to bring new business into the county to meet the needs of the citizenry. That brings us back around to the project timeline. And as I mentioned earlier, the market research that I've just shared with you was part of phase three of this process. This market analysis, along with the community survey and the ongoing stakeholder involvement, has provided a foundation for phase four visioning. That's where we are right now. In fact, this video is being done in the lead up to task number 14, which is the Community Identity and Design Workshop. That's going to be a virtual workshop that we're holding June 22nd through July 2nd. And if you haven't done it already, I would encourage you to go to the Envision New Kent Facebook page for more information and event notifications. During those 2 weeks, we're going to have a number of live meetings and opportunities for you to provide continued input on this planning process. With that, I want to thank you for your time, and we hope to see you at the virtual workshop. Thank you.